excited to finally be doing my Imaginary Authors house overview. I've been meaning to do this for a very long time. I'm also going to have a little giveaway at the end, so make sure you stay tuned through the end. I have, well, I've purchased previously their short stories collection, so I have samples of many of their fragrances, but I also have several of their different bottles, and I have some travel sprays as well. So I have a lot from the collection. I think I have 14 fragrances here that I'm going to talk about today. And as I usually do, I'm going to rank them from my least favorite to my most favorite. I'll be honest, some of these that are on my least favorite probably for other people will be high up, like towards the top of their list, just because of personal preferences. I also think some of the ones that I have towards the lower end of the list, it seems like a lot of my male friends tend to like them more than I do, whereas often a lot of my female friends tend to prefer the ones that are towards the top of the list. But also, I think that these are all, I mean, they're all marketed as unisex, but I also find them to be very unisex. There's nothing here that smells particularly feminine or particularly masculine to me. Now, if you're not familiar with Imaginary Authors, it is a perfume house, like an indie perfume house that's been around for almost 10 years now. I want to say they started in about 2012. And the perfumer behind all of these fragrances that I'm going to talk about today is Josh Meyer. They do have more than 14 fragrances available currently, and they have some discontinued ones. There's some limited edition ones, but I'm going to talk about ones that are all currently available that you could go purchase right now if you wanted to. And I think that all their fragrances are vegan and cruelty free as well, if that's something that's a concern to you. If you haven't seen the presentation of Imaginary Authors before, then you are in for a real treat because they all come in these adorable little books. And when you open up the book, the fragrance is inside. And they also include with the full-size bottles a little sample of another fragrance. I've taken mine out, obviously, but you can kind of get the idea of what it would look like. So that could make a great gift. Even if you buy a travel spray, I'll just show you real quick. So you can see where the travel spray would lie in there, and you still get a cute little book with the travel sprays. And also, if you buy the Discovery set, then it will come with, again, a cute little book, and the samples will come in here. So you can have 8 samples total that you pick from their website, and they'll package them in here and send them to you. So again, really nice presentation, could make for a great gift, but also I don't ever save packaging really. However, I have saved some of these just because I think they're so cute that I can use them for like decorating or something. So anyway, that's enough of the packaging. Let's talk about the actual fragrances. So like I said, I'm going to talk about these in order of least to favorite for me. And my least favorite happens to be Whispered Myths. Now, the reason why I don't particularly care for this fragrance is because it is an oud fragrance and I'm not super into oud. I think this one's supposed to have Cambodian oud. It also has a very detectable note of cantaloupe, which is an interesting combination. Also in here, I think there's cedarwood. There's something called muscadana, which I believe is basically just ambrette, if you're familiar with ambrette, which is kind of like this musky sort of, I don't know, like a little bit dirty, kind of dirty, musky sort of scent. And then I think it's honey, and each one of these has an imaginary note, and the imaginary note that's in Whispered Myths is, I think, what is it? Salvaged shipwreck. So I don't know, maybe think of like algae growing on like the old like wet wood of a ship that's been under the water for a long time, I guess. So yeah, definitely very woody. Like I said, I get a strong note of the cantaloupe in here. And I don't hate it. I don't hate any of these, but this is my least favorite. And the reason why I have this particular travel spray instead of just a sample is because I won a giveaway, and that was really great. I was really excited to win a giveaway, but I won a giveaway, and when the person that I won the giveaway from ordered the full bottle that I won, Josh Meyer actually threw in a couple travel sprays just to be nice as well. And so I appreciate it, even though that particular one is not my favorite. I still really appreciate the gesture. It's very kind. And in fact, I'm going to include this in the giveaway since I'm not really going to use it, but there'll be more things in the giveaway, so stay tuned. All right, the next one up I just have a sample of. A lot of these I only have a sample of, but this one's called Bull's Blood. And I mean, the name probably gives you a hint as to what the imaginary note in this one is. It's bull's blood. You know, when I first smelled bull's blood, I didn't hate it. I don't hate this fragrance. I think a lot of people don't like this one. I don't hate it. I don't like it either. Like, I'm not gonna go and wear it. However, there is something in it that I do like, and it actually reminds me a little bit of Shalimar Eau de Parfum. A little bit, like not exactly, but there's something in it that reminds me of that, and I'm not exactly sure what it is. Anyway, this is, I think it was rose, patchouli, I think, what is it called? Costus or costus root, which I believe is like a woody, animalic sort of scent with maybe like a little bit of a violet note. I think there's tobacco in here, there's black musk, and which I'm not really familiar with what black musk smells like. And then there's of course the note of bull's blood. And I don't know if bull's blood smells any different from human blood, but I'll just assume it smells pretty similar. And so you can imagine sort of the metallic kind of scent that blood would give. And it's a little bit in here, but it's not to the point that it really puts me off. So that's my 13th pick, is bull's blood. Now I will say from this point forward, I actually find most of these pretty pleasant. Those are the only two that I don't really care for that much. But what I've put in number 12, because I'm not sure I would buy a full bottle, but I do enjoy, you know, smelling my little sample here, is called the Cobra and the Canary. And this one has lemon and orris root. I think there's tobacco flowers, not actually like tobacco leaf, but tobacco flowers, leather, hay, and asphalt. So I can definitely kind of get the hay and the asphalt. I can get the lemon in the opening. It kind of dissipates a little bit as it dries down. And I'm not sure, I mean, I know that there's tobacco flower in there. I don't know that that really pops out at me right away, but I do think as it starts to dry down into the mid, I get more of that. And I definitely get some of that orris, sort of like, kind of like the creamy sort of orris, or buttery, I guess is the word I should use, like a buttery sort of orris in here. So that's Cobra and the Canary, and I think that one actually smells pretty good. Not maybe enough for me to buy like a travel spray or bottle, but I kind of like it. Okay, the next one is called A City on Fire, and just real quick, I don't know if you can see that, but this will probably, it's not super dark, but it's a little bit colored there, so you'd want to be careful spraying this on light clothing. This to me is a novelty fragrance, to be quite honest. I like it. I like the way it smells, but I cannot imagine wearing this in public. Maybe you could wear it like at home for your own enjoyment, or to kind of take you on a trip or a story, so to speak, given, you know, the name Imaginary Authors. But yeah, it smells like a city on fire. Like the name tells you what it smells like. I believe there's cade oil in here, which is like a smoky kind of note, which would give it that sort of burning kind of feel to it. I think cade oil also kind of is often referred to as smelling like a bit like tar. So I guess I could get that because the city too, right? There's spikenard, which again is kind of this spicy, woody type of smell. I think sometimes it's a little bit musty too. I'm not real familiar with spikenard. But there's cardamom, there's something called clearwood, which to my understanding is like sort of like a very clean patchouli smelling type of note. There are dark berries, labdanum, and burnt match would be the imaginary note in this one. Yeah, I get the burnt match for sure. I get the like cade oil that's giving it sort of that burning tar sort of thing going on. But like I said, it smells like a burning city. That's just what it smells like. So I think it's really cool. It's pleasant. There is a slight touch of a sweetness to it. Not like you're by the fireplace kind of thing. This is not that scent by any means. Like I said, I think it's kind of a novelty fragrance. Maybe some people enjoy wearing it out. I personally couldn't see myself wearing it out, but I'm definitely, you know, happy that I have this little sample here because I do really enjoy smelling it. In my number 10 spot is one that's probably gonna break a lot of my friends' hearts because it's one of their favorites from the house, but it is Cape Heartache. So this is not one of my favorites, but like I said, a lot of my friends really like it, especially my male friends really love this one. I know Lucas Poe, he's hilarious, by the way, if you don't watch his channel. He hasn't put out a ton of videos because he's also a teacher and even busier than I am. But he really loves this one. I know Brandon from Da Vinci's Alchemist likes it. I think Chris from Scented Swordsman likes this one too. So this is a very popular one, but it's okay for me. However, it's just because of what it is. It's more of a like piney sort of fir-based scent. So this has, I think it's Douglas fir, pine resin. Oh, it's hemlock that's in here, which, you know, can be poisonous. I think there's supposed to be like a little bit of, I think, vanilla in here. I think that's what it is, if I remember correctly. And then strawberry and what is it? Fog, I think, is the imaginary note. And actually, I think this one has two, because I think this is the one that's supposed to have, what is it, like old growth? I don't know what that's supposed to mean, like old plants? I don't know. I can kind of get that though. Like this smells like you're in the woods and there's soil. And I can get the strawberry for sure. Now, I think the strawberry kind of fades as I've worn it. It's more in the opening. that I picked that up, but it is kind of nice. I just personally wouldn't wear it. So sorry, my voice is kind of going. So anyway, that one is Cape Heartache. Like I said, a lot of people love this one. So if you do like pine and fir types of scents, then definitely check this out because people seem to love it. Next up is Falling Into the Sea. So you can kind of take a guess at the style of fragrance this one is. Falling Into the Sea has a bunch of citrus in the opening. I think there's like lemon, bergamot, grapefruit, could be other stuff. This one also has lychee in it, if I remember correctly. And then tropical flowers, which I get a lot of that. And then it says warm sand is the imaginary note. Maybe, but I get mostly the tropical flowers and citrus and maybe the lychee a little bit, but citrus and tropical flowers. However, I will say that this does have sort of an aquatic vibe to it that makes it not smell particularly feminine. Like I said, all of these are marketed as unisex, and to me they all smell unisex, but this one you would think when you hear those like tropical flowers and the lychees, you know, kind of a fruit that's in a lot of feminine fragrances, or feminine marketed fragrances I should say, this doesn't smell feminine at all to me. So don't be deterred by that. If you like kind of fresh, citrusy, aquatic style fragrances, then Falling Into the Sea might be a good one to try. The next one I don't actually have to show you anymore, so I'll put a picture, but I have owned this in the past and I've worn it several times. I enjoy it, but I have an issue with stroopwafels I've talked about before. Things that smell like stroopwafels I don't really care for because I don't like stroopwafels, like it kind of puts me off from it. So I do like this fragrance, which is why it's in number 8, but I don't love it because of that note in it that smells a little bit like stroopwafel. Anyway, so a Whiff of Wafflecone is supposed to smell like an ice cream shop, and it definitely does because it has like this vanilla, heavy cream. There's a woodiness to it, like the counters. I think there's caramel in there, which would go in that in that stroopwafel vibe. I think there's orgeat, which is like this almondy, like kind of simple syrup type of thing that's usually paired with like some rose water or orange water that's used in cocktails. So that's kind of in there too. There's cinnamon, and then I think the imaginary note was just like ice cream shop. And so yeah, that's definitely what I got, and I do enjoy it. I think a lot of people would love this one. And I really liked it, except for the fact that there was that note in it that reminded me of stroopwafel, and it's the same issue I have with Kerasin's Unknown Pleasures, which people love. Like that's a very highly bestowed fragrance. I think both are. I think both are really well loved by many people. But because they both have this note in it, or this accord in it that smells like stroopwafel to me, after a little while, it starts to make me like not enjoy it so much, just because I have a taste aversion to stroopwafels. So anyway, that is a Whiff of Wafflecone. It's only $65. It's the only one that's a different price from the rest. I think the rest are all $95. But I think no matter what, all the prices are very fair for what you get. All right, the next one I actually have a full bottle of, and you can kind of see what the bottles look like here. I think the label in this one is particularly attractive. You have the name on the side, so this is O Unknown. And then I like this. On the back, they actually just print all of the notes or accords that are in this fragrance. So this one has black tea, Lapsang Souchong. I think that's a tea also. It's a tincture of that, so I believe that's also a style of tea. There's orris, butter, Kyoto moss, musk balsam, and sandalwood. And then there's like a question mark because it's unknown. So obviously this one is going to have a pretty strong tea presence, and it definitely does. Let me spray it again. Yeah, so I get, again, that orris right away. The orris is very strong in here, but also I get a lot of the tea. And the reason why this is at number 7 is because I'm not a huge fan of tea fragrances, but I am a huge fan of orris. So it's kind of like, there's a lot of aspects of it that I really enjoy, but then there's also some things that I don't find unpleasant by any means. I still really like this fragrance a lot, but I'm just not huge into tea fragrances. So I think if you do like tea fragrances, then definitely check out O Unknown. But I still really like this one a lot. It's pretty high up on my list, as you can see. And I will tell you, I like the dry down more than the opening. And I think it's because that tea sort of starts to die down a little bit in the dry down. But yeah, so that's a really nice one. It's called O Unknown. Then we're back to one that I only have a sample of, which I need to rectify because I really like this fragrance a lot. This is called Sundrunk. And again, I think the name kind of taps into the vibe of this fragrance, right? So this has neroli, which I'm not a huge fan of typically, but here, I think because it's paired with like honeysuckle or something a little bit sweeter, it cuts down on that bitter note or that bitter sort of, I don't know, aspect of neroli that I think is what I don't tend to enjoy. This one also has rhubarb, rosewater, orange zest, and what was it? Oh, first kiss is the imaginary note here. I don't know what that means, but here's my interpretation, okay? So my interpretation of this is that it's a very sparkling, sort of orangey type of fragrance, and I'm wondering if that fizziness would like represent like how you feel like all fluttery inside when you have your first kiss, because I definitely get this sort of light fizziness from this particular fragrance. And in fact, if you've ever smelled the Body Shop's Satsuma, which is probably my favorite fragrance that I've ever smelled from the Body Shop in terms of like all their bath products, this to me smells like a fizzy version of that. So I really, really like it. And I definitely want to get at least a travel spray of Sundrunk because I enjoy it so much. So this is one I didn't get the sample in my sample set. Is just not one that I picked. I don't know why I overlooked it, but eventually it came with one of my full bottles and I love it. So that one is number 6 and it is called Sundrunk. Now I will tell you, number 5 and number 4 kind of bounce back and forth for me, so they're sort of tied really. But what I've decided to put today in number 5 is Slow Explosions. This one has a lot of notes that I really love. For example, there's saffron, there is rose, there's leather. There's definitely a detectable note of apple in here, which is really interesting. And then there's, I think, a bit of benzoin, cashmere wood, and I think the imaginary note is supposed to smell like, what's it called, apora? Yeah, apora market or night market, something like that. So I don't know what that smells like because I've never been to the apora night market, but I would imagine that it's spicy. You know, I'm thinking of like spices and foods that would be sold at a market. And I definitely get a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit of spiciness in it. So I guess that's maybe what it's pulling from. But yeah, so this is just a really nice sort of slightly rosy, slightly saffron leather type of fragrance. The leather's not overpowering though. So again, it's not something that I think leans one way or the other. This is very much dead center unisex, as I think all of these fragrances are. I don't think anything leans towards one gender or the other. I really like this one, and I think that some people might find Slow Explosions to be quite sexy, like perhaps out of all of these, the one that might be considered the most sexy. Oh, and by the way, I do have a travel spray of that one, as I do the next one, which is my number 4 spot, and that is Yesterday Haze. So again, Yesterday Haze has a lot of notes that I really enjoy. There's fig, there's iris, I think there's like a creaminess to it, so I'm not sure what that's coming from. There's some sort of creaminess to it. There's tonka. I think there's supposed to be tree bark sort of in here. And then was it walnut bitters and orchid dust? No clue what that's supposed to smell like. No clue. I don't know what it smells like, but this smells really, really good to me. I think I get mostly like a powdery, creamy kind of combo there with the iris. Touch of powder, touch of cream, and then a lot of the iris. It's not like a super iris fragrance, but I definitely get that as one of the notes that stands out more than the others. It's kind of like blended somewhat equally, but iris kind of pops out a little bit more. Get a little bit of the fig, not a ton, and it's like a creamy, sort of like a fig milky kind of note. And yeah, maybe like a little bit of a woodiness or nuttiness. That's mainly what I get. So I'm not really sure what orchid dust is supposed to smell like, and I can't really pull that out here too much, other than there could be like a slight bit of powderiness to it, but I love this one. So that's Yesterday Haze, and again, if you're an iris lover, this is one to definitely check out. All right, and so just like how number 4 and 5 could kind of switch back and forth any day, the same goes for number 2 and 3. So today I've decided to put in number 3, Telegramma. I really, really like this fragrance. This one, again, I can just read you the notes here. There's talc, lavender absolute, black pepper, amyris, vanilla powder, and fresh linens. So this one, you see that lavender and you might think it leans a little masculine, but I think that because there's that vanilla in there, it's like got the freshness, like it says fresh linens. It has like a freshness to it, and the talc, like the powdery kind of thing going on. I think again, it puts it right back dead center unisex. I do think that a lot of men would quite like this, but I love this one. I love it. It's fantastic. It sort of, It sort of gives me a cozy vibe, to be honest, even though it doesn't have, besides maybe the vanilla, things that would typically be considered sort of cozy notes. But it just makes me feel really, fresh, but at the same time, very comfortable, I guess is maybe the way to say it. So that's Telegramma, and it's definitely one of my favorites. I mean, I put it at number 3, obviously, but yeah, so some days it's number 3, some days it's number 2. And so in the number 2 spot, I put it has to be one of their best-selling fragrances, I think. It is Saint Julep, which is a mint-based fragrance, and I love this. So the mint that's in Saint Julep is like a sweeter style mint. It's not peppermint, and it's not like a spicy mint, but it's kind of like the mint that you would grow in your backyard to make mojitos all summer long. I'm sure you all grow mint just for that purpose, just like I do, but that's what it reminds me of. There's also like a citrus in here. I think it's tangerine that's supposed to be in here. There's magnolia, I think bourbon, but I don't get a lot of that. So I guess, it's going in the route of a mint julep as opposed to a mojito. But then there's this note called Grisalva, which I had to look up. I'm not very familiar with it, but it's supposed to be like a really soft, slightly animalic, slightly leathery kind of a note. And then Sugar Cube, which would be the imaginary thing. But like I said, it's kind of a sweet mint, so I guess that's where I'm getting it from. So yeah, obviously this is supposed to somewhat evoke the feeling of a mint julep, and I can definitely get that. Though like I said, I don't think the bourbon note is very strong. This doesn't smell super alcohol-y to me by any means. It's just really nice, really pleasant, and I think this would work well from like this kind of later part of spring all the way to the end of summer. Really refreshing, beautiful. It might be my favorite mint fragrance I've ever smelled. So that one is Saint Julep. And then of course, my number 1 won't surprise anyone if you've watched my channel before. It is this one here. It's called Memoirs of a Trespasser. And so that's what it looks like. And again, you can see the name on the side and then the notes on the back. So this is a vanilla fragrance, which is why, like I said, if you watch my channel, you won't be surprised because I love vanilla fragrances. So it has Madagascar vanilla, Gaiac wood, myrrh, bergamot, benzoin, ambrette, and oak barrels. But I think you can kind of imagine, it's an imaginary note that's very easy to imagine the smell of like an oak barrel. So this is a sort of woody vanilla kind of fragrance. I get a little bit of maybe the myrrh in there and maybe a touch of like the spicy kind of benzoin that's in there. But yeah, it's mostly a woody vanillic fragrance. So if you also are a lover of vanillas, then this is definitely one that you should try. And of course, a Whiff of Wafflecone. But my personal favorite from all the imaginary author scents that I've tried thus far is Memoirs of a Trespasser. All right, so now that I've talked about all the fragrances, I want to quickly talk about the giveaway because I want to share some of this with you. First of all, I already mentioned the winner will get this travel spray, and I have sprayed it a couple times, but this travel spray of Whispered Myths, and that's gonna go right back in its box here. They will also get this other travel spray that Josh threw in because I already have it. This is Yesterday Haze, which I already have a travel spray of my own. This one's actually sealed, so I haven't opened it at all because I already owned it. So you will get 2 travel sprays, and what I'm going to do is put together these like 8 little samples here back in the Discovery set, and then you can try some of the other fragrances as well. That way you can have a total of 10 different fragrances to test out on your own. So what do you have to do to enter the giveaway? Well, it's pretty simple. First, I do have to limit it to US only just because of shipping restrictions, but beyond that, you just need to subscribe to my channel, like this video because I thought it was pretty good, and leave a comment down below letting me know if you have tried imaginary authors before, which is your personal favorite thus far. And if you have not, let me know which of the, not just these, but the entire 14 that I talked about today sounds most interesting to you. So that's all you have to do to enter, but I do recommend also hitting the notification bell because I will post the winner in my community tab. I think I'll leave this open until March 27th, 2021, just in case you're watching this really far in the future. So I'll leave it open until then, and then I'll post the winner in my community tab sometime in the next few days after March 27th. I hope you all enjoyed this video and found it helpful. I know Imaginary Authors has a lot to offer at this point, so you might kind of be wondering what is worth trying or what you should try. I think in general, they're honestly all worth a shot, but if you have tastes similar to mine, for those of you who watch my videos frequently, I would say if you're going to order the Discovery set, which I do highly recommend, but if you're going to order that, go with my top 8. I think that's the safest bet. But you know, if your tastes are a little different from mine, just go with what sounded most interesting to you. However, I do think my top 8 are pretty solid, and I think that if you have tastes similar to mine, you'll find at least a few in there that you really enjoy. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing, because you're gonna have to do that anyway if you'd like to enter the giveaway. But I would love it if you did it just because you enjoyed the video. Also, I just wanna say I really appreciate you all watching. I hope that this was helpful, and I'll see you next time. Bye.